Let's go do some little business. First of all, I want to just mention that the event is sponsored by Jobber. Jobber is a scheduling software, and they are determined and part of their task is to create a community of home service workers and business owners. So whether you use Jobber or not, they're thankful that you're out here tonight talking to other business owners and sharing information with each other and sharing contact information. So thank you very much for coming out on behalf of our friends at Jobber.
Thank you, Jobber.
And Jobber furnished all the food and all the drinks. So thank you very much for coming out and participating in that. There are restrooms just outside this room to the right. If you anyone needs to use the restroom, and even while we're doing the presentation, if you need to get up and get a drink or something, they'll bring drinks to you. But feel free. This is a low key, easy thing. Yeah, this is like like a bad comedy show, right?
We'll take drinks over here.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So after our panel discussion tonight, we're going to have some giveaways. So we've got a couple things from Jobber. We've got some swag up from Jobber. They gave us a couple of gift cards that we can give away. So we've got some fun stuff to do after the panel. So stick around. And let's see if I have anything else. Okay, so we did sort of lure you guys in with a special guest, Alonzo Adams.
Yes.
And he is not here. He's not the wrong guy. I just got called and said, hey, make sure you wear your good clothes.
So, unfortunately, Alonzo insists flight for today, and he is not yet in Las Vegas. He will be here tomorrow, so you're welcome to heckle him or give him a hard time, or a hug, a COVID-friendly hug, any of those things. But Royce, who organized this entire event, was willing to step in, and while he's been a guest of Fight Club before, we said every time we talk to Royce is a new time talking to Royce. The man is an absolute wealth of knowledge. And while we're missing Alonzo Adams this evening, we're quite happy that Royce was willing to step in, and he even went shopping.
I had like some really nice job swag there. I figured you're going to be on the panel. You probably should be somewhat independent.
So Alonzo, we miss you.
Independent clothes.
Royce, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so are we ready to get started?
I think so.
Okay, so we're in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Okay,
We're not friends, man.
we're in Las Vegas.
I don't know what
The number, Las Vegas, when you say Fight Club in Las Vegas, that means something totally different than the Fight Club, and we're, number one rule of Fight Club is you'll say, no. Las Vegas has had massive, huge fights and stuff going on. So there's some other music playing. You think they could turn the other music off? You think they'll turn the house music off? Is that the intro coming in? No, there's something else coming in? Got it. Okay. You do your job, I'll do mine. All right. So here we go. So, welcome to the Fight Club.
Wow. Who made this?
Well, I guess we can go ahead and welcome everyone. Welcome to Fight Club, and was not expecting the awesome jams from Royce this evening, but we got them. Space jams.
It's 1990 Space Jam.
That's the year 2.
Yeah.
2 years after, technically, I'm the baby. But yes, welcome to Fight Club for Business, everyone. This is your first time being here. We are a group of self-employed industry experts, and we like to cover 4 areas of the business tonight with you. So we'll cover marketing, finances, systems, and operations, and then people and culture. So that way you can really get an idea and kind of get to pick Roy's brain tonight on these areas of business and areas that you guys can improve on yourself potentially. So we'll go around and kind of do some introductions briefly if you don't know who we are. I'll go ahead and let Royce start first, since you're the guest of the show. Just to give everyone a little bit of a breakdown on yourself and your business.
Okay, I'm Royce Ard, and my wife Tamara, who's doing our registration tonight. We have a house cleaning business in Columbus, Georgia, which is it's not part of Atlanta. It's actually south of Atlanta, and so we've been in the house cleaning business since 2013. Prior to that, we had a handyman business, so we used jobber in a couple different industries. And but my background is in sales and marketing, and primarily in the tech industry. So before this, I was the VP of sales and marketing in a publicly traded company, and sort of moved into small business and home services. So that's sort of our background.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Royce. Well, playing off the marketing background, my name is Taylor Maroney, and I actually co-own a pressure washing company in South Florida with my husband. And I come from a background of marketing. So 6 years in the marketing industry, graphic design background as well. Passion to help business owners figure out the numbers and analytics behind marketing and how to make better decisions based upon those. So that way you're not looking at those numbers blind and kind of having to figure out what should I do from here. So that's my background, and welcome to Fight Club, everyone.
Yay, we don't get to use live very much, so that's good. It's nice to see you. My name's Megan Lex.
Do you probably drink though when you do it, even if it's not live?
It's 7 a.m. in California, so.
I know what the question is.
Yeah. My name is Megan Lex. I'm the founder of Bookkeeping Academy Online. I educate and empower small business owners just like yourselves to know and understand your numbers. I also own a full-service accounting firm called Lights Accounting Company, where you can outsource those nasty accounting tasks to me and my team, and I'll take care of that for you, especially in home service businesses doing under $1 million. And I co-own a window cleaning gutter cleaning company with my husband Jeff, based out of Northern California. I'm super happy to be here in Las Vegas. Tate's first time in Las Vegas, everybody. First time. Oh, wow. We're never. Welcome to Fight Club.
Welcome today to Las Vegas.
Thank you.
I'm Michelle Myers, co-owner of Pink Collars, and we can help you with your front and back office tasks. So if you need help, microphone, thank you. If you need help with calls and emails and chats and all of that stuff in your office, we can for sure help you with that. And welcome.
All right, and I'm Martha Woodward, pulling up the rear here, and I cover people and culture. I own a maid service in a neighboring state, so I'm an absentee owner about 100 miles away. I am co-founder of Quality Driven Software, and I help people build happier workplaces. So welcome to Fight Club. We'll get going.
We'll get going. The whole time. Well, I'm Steele first for marketing. One of my favorite things that you and I talked about before, a couple different conversations actually, is the way you go about tagging your customers when they come through your response bid or any type of email communication. Jobber, you're specifically Jobber, which is why I wanted to bring this up as well, because it is so helpful to a business owner to understand where those numbers are coming from and those leads are coming from. But the system we have is so fantastic with the tagging. So I wanted to kind of talk about why you started it initially, and then just give a little bit of background as to how you go about it as well.
So there's a couple pieces to the tagging that we do. First of all, we want to determine, we originally started to do it so that on just a glance, we can see the number of customers that we have. So it allows us to see we've got this many active, this many inactive customers. That's just basic stuff. And then we started adding things to it. So we started adding, we went to response bid, we went to a good, better, best type of product system. So we have clever names for these. One's called the Economy, one's called the Classic, and one's called the Premier. So we started tagging according to those three. And then we tag also by bi-weekly, weekly, monthly, those kind of things. Now, there's a few reasons why we do that. Of course, number one, it allows us to look and see what kind of customers we have. But the other thing to it is, from a marketing perspective, if you are going to send emails or text or whatever, you need to talk as closely to that client as possible. And so by segmenting your database, when you send a message out to a biweekly customer, you can mention things like, I know we are handling we clean your home on a biweekly basis. And what it does is it makes that message resonate with them a lot closer. And so database segmentation is a big, big deal. If you were working for a big corporation, that would be one of the biggest things you would be doing in marketing, is making sure that you had your database segmented by the different pieces, that you market by. And we can, it's actually, there's very few things that are much easier to do in a small business, but that is one of them. Because we know our customers so much better.
It is, and it brings such an impact as well, like you're saying, with the messaging. So now not only are you reaching out to these customers and making sure you're nurturing them through whatever nurturing process you use, which may be email, maybe text message, but you're extending that customer lifetime value as well, because that nurturing process allows them to know, Royce knows who I am, they know what I'm working with, they know what services I'm coming through on. And then from there, upselling and all those opportunities as well do become easier.
Yeah, it was also very handy, back last year, when, there was a lot of unknown as far as COVID goes. We were able to respond very quickly to our customers, and we lost 40% of our customers overnight. Now, we live in Georgia. Georgia never shut down. It was a different world. But we still had customers who said, you can't come to my house. But we were able to respond, and Tamara did a great video talking to the customer very specifically to them. And we segmented that out according to the tags that we had and sent it out. And we got most of those customers back in the next probably 6 weeks. But we spent a lot of time talking to them to make them feel, hey, and the kind of feedback we got was, you know what, we don't really know exactly what's going on, but it appears that you do. So, we sent them our training that we did for our cleaners. We said, this is the COVID training that we've done. Feel free to look at go through the training program yourself if it helps you understand, the virus more.
Absolutely.
And so by sharing all that data, it really, number one, it established us as an expert as much as we could be, and we didn't overextend ourselves there, but it did let them, put them at ease to know that, hey, we're doing everything that we can do to understand it and to keep them safe.
That's fantastic. And the key thing I want to hit on that Royce is saying is, back when these clients first came on board, back when they first came in as a lead, he used his CRM, which Michelle will be able to talk more about when it comes to systems, Jobber, to be able to tag these clients and make sure that they have a specific title associated with their account, where they came from, what type of client they are, any additional information that you and your office may need, type of billing.
Can you even go into it a little bit? Sorry, you're on.
Oh, no, you're fine.
He says he even tags the month they come in. So he knows their anniversary dates. He's like a tagging thing.
Well, it's really not that hard, but there are, so first of all, let's talk about CRMs. Every CRM has great things. Has great things. And every CRM's got problems. That they're missing, or they haven't built yet. Okay, all of them. All right. And so what you have to do is you have to find a CRM like Jobber that fits your business as best as it can, and then you have to sort of mold your business to that. And again, if it doesn't, if you can't make that move, then it's not the right CRM for you. Okay, there's plenty out there, so find one that works. So one of the problems with a system like Jobber, or a lot of them, is that they don't spit out the number of active clients we have, or the number of when customers started. And that's primarily because we're in a recurring revenue business. And so we don't have, we may have 10,000 customers in our database, but there's only 400 of them or whatever that you really are super, super worried about. And so we use tagging. And tagging, by the way, if you're, put our marketing hat on, if you're using a true CRM, like a Marketo or HubSpot or one of the big, Salesforce, tagging is how it works over there too. So this is not, and we're not reinventing the wheel here, but we do tag them for when they start and when they stop. We also had some other individual tags, like the people who canceled us during COVID. I just wanted to know, how many left us.
And he made a tag that said COVID canceled.
Yeah.
Like, so clever
That
and
was
simple.
That was
but that's it.
creative. But we did that, and just so we could see how many came back, because you have to be able to measure your effectiveness. So when you're spending money on marketing, you want to be able to measure, how effective it is. And so we were able to see who all came back and who didn't. Now, I don't think we're where we want to be for a lot of different reasons, as far as going back to customers who had left us and did not come back. But we have that list, and so we can go back to them and market back to them, and we will, and we'll, but and we'll get to this when we talk about culture, but we fight the same problem that everyone fights as far as staffing goes, and we've had 100% turnover in our business. And so until we feel where we're better off from a staffing perspective, that we can now go back to those old customers and offer them the same levels of cleaning that we did before, then we will. But we have that list, and
Exactly, have the list, and the other thing that you mentioned too, a few minutes back, is how quickly he was able to market back to those people because of the tags in place. And that's also an area I wanna kind of emphasize a little bit, because he was able to have Tamara make a very short video pertaining to whichever clientele they were speaking to in those videos, send those out and be able to get these clients back on board quickly.
now this is Jobber specific, but Jobber actually has a very good connection, very good API connection with Mailchimp.
Yes.
And so the tags actually, anything you tag in Jobber carries forth over to Mailchimp.
Correct.
So it makes it very easy
It does.
to send messages.
And now that's incorporated. So if you don't know what Mailchimp is, just to clarify, it is a email marketing program, free up to a certain amount of email subscribers, and you can be able to connect that with your CRM, depending on the CRM you're working with. Something like Jobber, as Royce said, you connect very easily. But I could talk about tagging and marketing and all the things we do all night, but I will go ahead and pass you off to Megan, so that way we can talk a little bit of finances too.
Fun fact, Intuit, my other favorite software company next to Jobber and quality assurance software and Responsive. And
Yes.
and hire you.
Yes, made a lot of Mailchimpers rich.
Mailchimp was just bought by Intuit.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that fascinating? Yeah, and all these tagging things are really fun. Another brilliant marketing idea from Royce during COVID was he was sending out helpful newsletters to all of his entire client list. So not just ones that he lost, but getting them everybody's home and spring cleaning and doing all these cool things. So, but we're not going to talk about marketing. We're going to talk about numbers and people. No, we're not going to talk about people. We're going to talk about numbers and customers. So you have a couple of important KPIs that you watch in your business, and you watch them in a couple of very interesting ways. One of them kind of goes back to tagging. Can we talk about like the frequency that your customers visit your company and anything you're doing specific in your company?
Is that my lead in? I'm supposed to?
Yeah, it's supposed to be that, but that was it, no.
I don't know if I know the answer to that.
That's okay, I can give you.
Can you give me a better hint?
Like, how often does somebody get cleaning with your company?
Okay. So one of the things that, no matter what you're doing, is you really need to understand, what your average revenue is per cleaning, what your, how often, you're doing business with people, all those different kind of facts.
So accounting speak, we're talking your average ticket, so what's your average cleaning that you're getting per customer, and then lifetime value, how much are you getting from a customer in a particular period? Maybe that's just a year, or maybe that's over the course of the life of the customer.
And so my background prior to this was in cable TV. In cable TV, you track a lot of those types of numbers, and you were very concerned about churn. And at some point in time in your business, as you grow, at first you're.
Otherwise known as attrition, right? So the number of customers that are leaving your company, right?
So when you are new, it's all about how many customers you're adding. But at some point in time, as you get larger, the big win for your company is how to prevent people from leaving. Okay, and that's when you get into customer lifetime value and all those things.
Retention, right? Retention in your customers.
So it's those are the kind of numbers that we really pay close attention to. And again, that's where the tagging helps us, because we can go back in and we can create, we can understand exactly what our attrition rate is and those types of things. CRMs handle this in different ways. I would say this is not one that Jobber handles great. we have to go in and we have to sort of create and I don't do workarounds. I will do additional things, but I don't try to do workarounds. So, but this is an add-on that we have to do to get the numbers that we want. And again, it's because any CRM that's built for all of the home services are going to have to, again, recurring is just one segment of it. And the way that a contractor uses Java or a painter uses Java is different than how a housekeeping service uses it.
But I want to hear how you're using it. Like, are you targeting your customers?
Hard question.
No, this is simple. Like, do you want a monthly customer? Do you want a weekly customer? Or do you want a bi-weekly customer?
I'll take either one of those.
All
And
three
this
of
is
them.
why, this is
Okay.
why. Because we've priced them where they're all profitable. So what we've done is, and you see this a lot, especially with new folks that are in the business, where they're heavily discounted weeklies. So we hardly discount weeklies. I think we give them like 5% down.
But you're clean. That's what I was here at the conference. I'm clean, I'm gonna get a discount.
Yeah, I'm not going to, because you know what, still,
Did you have to drive there?
you had to drive there, you had to get all your equipment out. It's just,
Did you have to chat with her? Like, you chat with her when you were leaving?
Probably,
Like,
yeah.
clean up all your stuff?
so you don't save a lot of time. Now, now our strategy on monthlies is different than a lot of people.
And one time, you gotta talk about one times. This is the cleaning conference.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, but I think this is something we do really well.
I know, that's why I'm asking the question.
So the way that we do monthlies, we want people to be bi-weekly customers. That's, at the end of the day, they're easy to schedule, they drive the revenue, that's what we want.
Can anybody relate bi-weekly, bread and butter, that's what we want? Week, oh, she wants weekly, okay.
But, weekly's nothing but 2 bi-weeklies.
That's Susan's fancy.
Yeah, I guess it's
I can't always pull this.
extra. So what we do on monthlies is we price our monthlies at 50% higher than a bi-weekly. And this is because it gives us a story to tell, okay? So let's just say, just to keep the numbers easy, we'll just say, it's $120 per bi-weekly, which would make us 50% more, so $180 per monthly, okay? We're gonna be okay on making money, and actually, that's probably one of our higher margin products is monthly. But what it allows us to do is to say, look, 2 cleanings, 2 bi-weekly cleanings cost you $230, or you can do monthly for $160. But what that means is for $80, you can get a second cleaning every month.
What did you just do there? Did you price anchor? Is that what's happening?
I don't know these terms.
Price anchored. Okay.
They don't have these numbers.
I know, I love it. Okay, so I love it. You're kind of setting them up where you want them to be. You're making it a no-brainer yes, or a no-brainer.
We still get a lot of monthlies, and it's because we're in an environment, we're not in the strongest market financially, you know, so we have a lot of people who take monthlies. Yeah. Well, we're also in a sort of a second tier city. So we're not sitting in Atlanta, you know, which is a different level economically. But what it allows us to do is monthly, if you want monthly, we can do that. It's an affordable product for monthly, but our margins are really good. So we're happy to sell
Okay, so speaking of margins, I have 2 more questions. I'm gonna go to Michelle. And I have no clock, so I have no idea if I'm running over. Michelle's gonna give us some help. Okay, so the next one is add-ons. So we're raising our average ticket. I feel like that's something that you do pretty well in your business. And the third one, you can skip the second one if you don't like it, is good, better, best. Do you know what percentage of your people are falling with a good cleaning versus a better cleaning versus the best
it.
cleaning?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but we do. So we do good, better, best, and
Economy, premium.
classic and premier. So let me tell you what they are, okay? So we'll just start with the middle. So what we call our classic cleaning is the cleaning that all maid services do, okay? It's the basic, regular, recurring cleaning. There's nothing fancy about it. You know, we take out the trash, we make the beds, we dust everything, okay? But we're in a town with a lot of retired military. And a retired colonel, when you pitch him and you start telling him that you're gonna take out his trash and make his bed, he says, look, dude, I woke up at 4:30 this morning to make my bed. Are you gonna, it's made. I promise you it's made.
And you can bounce a quarter on it.
Yeah. So we decided, okay, well, we would come up with the economy package, because we were looking for good, better, best. We wanted 3. And the economy would be that we would eliminate making beds and we wouldn't take out the trash. And it's really our retired military one, okay? Because they're doing it already. So for them, they like the product. And it's not a product that we intended to sell a lot of, and we don't sell a lot of it. Probably 20% of the people buy that. The classic is probably something that I would say 30% buy. The 50% of the people pay, for our best product, which is what we call our Premier. And our Premier, the pitch on that is we're going to deep clean your house twice a year. And we do that by specific months, we do different things. So I think this month we're cleaning last month we cleaned refrigerators. Next month we're cleaning, we're hand scrubbing cabinet fronts. And so we have 6 different tasks, and then when we finish those, we repeat them. Okay, and the thing is, if you added up what we would charge for all of those things, it's less than what we're getting on a monthly basis because of the way we package.
But they don't have to remember that their cabinets are getting dirty, and you're thinking it for them.
Right, well, the other big thing to it is it allows us to do stepped up pricing. So it's pretty, like a normal pricing for us would be, for a small house would be $125 for economy, $135 for classic, $145 for Premier. What they do is, this is the Apple approach, by the way. So what they do is they look at the low one and they say, "Dan, I want you to make my beds." They look at the middle one and say, "Yeah, I like this one." And they look at the top one and say, "Oh, for only $10 more, I can get these other things." And so they always pick the top one. So that's
Again, pricing grid, right?
Yeah.
Okay, add-ons, then we gotta go to Michelle.
Okay.
No, add-ons. Do you offer add-ons, or is it only the Premier?
No, the only add-ons we do are with our one-time cleanings, and it's, we do 3 add-ons. We do ovens, refrigerators, and window cleaning. That's it. And the window cleaning is all done by the square foot. We don't over.
I think your wife disagrees with you.
What else do we do?
We do housekeeping.
Oh, well, now that's included in the normal package. We do have housekeeping and what else do we do?
We do something else. What else we do?
Baseboards?
No, we do.
Fans?
Dishes. No, everything else, if you want anything else, you want out of that package.
And laundry.
Yeah.
It's like 15 minutes.
So the reason that we're having a difference of opinion in how we do this is because everything is booked online with us. And that's all done in the initial package. The only real upgrade, as far as I'm concerned, is done after the package has been selected, which are those 3. But when you're building your package and you're going through the number of bedrooms and bathrooms and all those, at that point in time, you can say, "I want 15 minutes of housekeeping."
Okay, small pause, small commercial break. Royce and I are both beta testing something pretty cool right now.
So we've been actually for about the last year, we've been working with ResponsiBid. And so ResponsiBid is doing some really cool stuff as far as
It's
bundling goes.
coming. Here it comes.
So
It's beautiful.
So what ResponsiBid did a couple things for us. ResponsiBid is an add-on that you can add on in front of your CRM.
Sales software system.
Yeah, and so what it does is it allows, at the end of the day, it allows the customer to go online and get a price, and we give them the 3 prices, we give them good, better, best, and to book their job. And Jobber has a direct connection with ResponsiBid, so when they book their job, it actually goes right into the Jobber software, into our calendar. It's a game changer. If you are not doing things online now to allow your customer to do that, you're late to the game. But there's still time.
Does it do follow-up?
It does smart follow-up.
It does all the
It
follow-up
does smart
as well.
scheduling. Kurt can tell me, this is not really a responsive commercial. Kurt will be at the ICC show.
But we can have,
No,
but
but
we're
we're
both big
beta
believers that it's
testing
changed a lot.
and packages and bundles, and Royce is the guru for bringing to home cleaning services, and it's coming.
Yeah.
That's all we say.
Okay,
It's
all right,
coming,
well,
and it's
let me
awesome.
tell you something, it will change your business. It absolutely, whether you use ResponsiBid to do it or something else, Susan resisted, there was no
2 years.
Susan
eventually.
and I resisted as well, and they locked me in a cabin for 3 days until I finished it. So
She's not
don't
kidding.
recommend resisting to anyone.
True story. Okay, well, and the packages, my average ticket's already gone up over $200 in the past 4 weeks.
Can I mention one thing that we're talking about add-ons? What I did, because we lived in Seattle.
I'm back.
Hello. So, because I live in Seattle, we have parking situations that can be very time consuming sometimes. We have place houses that we do that will have a 2-hour limit, and you have to go out and move them in the between. That can take up to 15 minutes to a half an hour, depending on where we are. If we have parking that's a couple blocks away. So we had to respond to it, mark that, depending on where, if we can park in the driveway, there's no charge. If they say to park right outside, no problem, we still add a little bit, because I don't always trust that. If they're a block away, it's more, 2 blocks, it's more. If it's 2 hours, then, we charge like $40 more. No kidding.
And the customer doesn't know.
They don't know.
Responsive hides it from them, and it adds them this storage. It's brilliant.
The one thing I would say as far as,
We have to.
we will. It's my,
Let's talk about
it's my, this
system.
is my party, that's the beauty of this. Since I'm a special guest and it's my party. I'm making the rules. Sorry, Alonzo. Alonzo would have to go to Michelle.
I know, we would.
Okay, but I don't. So, because we're getting on something that I really strongly believe in, is Amazon has trained everybody that you should just shop online. And it should be easy, and it should be, it should be seamless, and that's just the way you do business. And our customers tomorrow they're never gonna call you. I have a son-in-law, God bless him, even though he made me bet the Cleveland Browns today and he got killed. Yes, I did. I said, like, who, buys a house? Who'd you get your mortgage with? Rocket Mortgage. Why'd you get into Rocket? I didn't want to talk to anybody. It's like, that's the biggest purchase you're gonna make. I know, I didn't want to talk to anybody. Because that's the next generation. And if you don't believe me, you're gonna meet a lot of people here the next couple of days. Just ask them, when's the last time you called somebody for something, to buy something?
I hate to call somebody.
So,
Martha needs a hassle.
if you are creating friction in your business, in your ordering process, by making people call you, you're going to have to change that, whether it's in your plans or not. That is going to change. So that's all I would say as far as that goes, is you've got to reduce that friction, because the next group of customers that we have, they don't play that game. They're gonna, and here's this is practical how it works, okay? So people are gonna look around and shop online. So they're gonna go to the first guy and they're gonna say, oh, it's a really pretty website. I like these people. It's pretty sharp. I'll call them tomorrow. They go to the next guy and they go, yeah, that website's not that good. They go to my website and they go, oh, I can get a price. Let me get a price. So they get a price and they look and go, that's not as bad as I thought it would be. I can book it. I'll just go ahead and book it. Doesn't matter, I was the most expensive out of those 3. The other guys never had a chance to shoot their shot.
Well, and you forgot, now we gotta, take on my mic, but you gotta remember that you also let them shop against yourself.
That's right. 'Cause I
Right,
get
so
free
you
package.
gave them economy, standard, and premier, and so they price anchored themselves, instead of going and looking and calling for prices from the other companies, they just chose the one that fit their budget.
That's right. So, and that's where it's all going to happen. I mean, that's what's going to happen. So, so people who, I'm not saying that, if you require people to call you, that people will call you, because there's going to be certain ones that do, but the guy who's booking online has first shot.
Or the gal, speaking of
When I
gals,
say guy,
Michelle Myers,
Guy.
yeah, little guy.
okay,
Michelle Systems.
hey guy.
Hi, everybody. Hi. It was a great segue, actually, because I think it was beautiful, because all the tagging for marketing is actually a system. All of your pricing and packages are a system for money. And I live and breathe in communication. And I know you have a really cool, sort of high-level view on communication and how it should work in a home service industry. Can you tell us kind of what the major components are that you're looking at right now in your business as far as communication is concerned?
So one of the things that we wanted to do, at the end of the day, we're all going to have to compete on customer service. So it's not going to be on prices, it's going to be on customer service. It really, when I say that, it's really the customer experience, and online ordering is part of that. So in order to offer a better customer experience, when we were sort of really slow during COVID, I locked myself in a room depressed like everybody else. And we developed some software that is a ticketing system. And so what it does is every communication that can possibly happen with one of our customers, whether they send us a text or an email,
Okay, remaining.
okay,
Text, email.
whether it is something out of our CRM, so like a failed email or a failed text, if it is something from Facebook messages,
Messenger, okay, got
if it's a QDS survey,
it. Ooh.
if it is a finance score, yeah, that's included. We don't have those. Okay, yeah, we do. If it is a responsive bid quote, if it is a voicemail, if it's an unanswered call, if it's an abandoned call, any of those things, and there's like 12 or 14 of them. Yeah, anything from Google or anything from Nice Job, any of those things creates a ticket. And what we want to happen to each of those tickets is for someone to eyeball it and say, is there anything I'm supposed to do with this? Okay, so and here's a good example, a QDS survey. We get a lot of 5-star QDS surveys that say things like, I won't be here at my next scheduled appointment. Can you please move that to such and such? Okay, if you just sort of let that pass, then you've done a poor job of customer service. But because it's a ticket and somebody has to read it and then physically close it, we know that it gets addressed, okay? The other thing is we can move those tickets back and forth between anybody in our office. So if there's something that comes up and I need to address it or Tim needs to address it, then it gets assigned to us, and then we do it.
It's huge, because I deal with this a lot with our clients. You and I have different approaches, but the overall concept is very
Yeah.
similar. And all of those pathways of communication are going to do nothing but increase, I believe, as the technology continues to change.
That's right.
Like you said, phone calls are gonna kind of slide down, but all those other avenues are gonna continue to increase, so.
And it's to your benefit for that to happen, because if you think about it, when someone calls you, you gotta catch up with them. You know, there's gonna be a little bit of a conversation that goes on because you want to be great customer service. So it turns into like a 5-10 minute call. Whereas a text is literally 15 seconds. It's, I need to cancel my appointment next time. Okay, would you like to reschedule it for that following Tuesday? Yes, that would work out great. What time do you have available? 9 a.m. Perfect. I mean, that interaction takes no time. Whereas if it's over the phone, it takes a lot of time. So we've moved, I would say probably, what would you say, 75, 80% of our,
At least.
yeah, come
Of your
through text,
communication.
come through text.
That's amazing.
I love that, like, I was making sourdough bread during COVID and Royce was developing software. I like cleaning out
I
closets.
was on a diet.
Dom has a question. Give it to us, Dom.
So have you noticed, because our office communicates a lot through text too, but then sometimes customers start to communicate like things that we don't want to talk about via text, like canceling their service. And that makes me a little uncomfortable communicating via text.
Well, the way I look at that is they send us a text and say whatever, okay, say, I need to cancel my service.
Yeah.
I don't have to text them back. I would
But then
call
they
them
don't
back.
answer, because now they can just.
Now they're ghosting you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that can happen. I mean, that obviously can happen. But there's really, think about it, I mean, whether they called you, the same result. I mean, you know, they just, go ahead, Tim.
Well, the thing I would say is if they're ghosting you, they were pissed off at your service. I'm sorry, but you
Yeah,
know,
technically,
people cancel even over text.
Hey, this is coming from personal experience, trust me.
Yeah, if they cancel over text, a lot of say, hey, you know, thank you, but my niece is not working now and I'm gonna get them, you know, they give us a reason. And we say, completely understand, we're always here if you need us.
Yeah, one of the things I would say,
It actually, if they texted me and they ghosted me, I'd say, what, you know, we're always here if you need us, just let us know. But if they're not responding to you, I would say there's a reason, because clients who don't respond to me, I know that they're pissed. You know, I mean, I just do. Because otherwise I get these long, elaborate explanations of why they're quitting.
they've given up is what it is. They've really given up.
Yeah.
And I would, you know, I mean, it's texting is just an easier way for them to say it, they, you know, but
But if they
You
call,
would
if
get
they
it
text
anyway.
a cancellation, I always call.
yeah, we call.
For
And
them,
if
yeah.
they could email, it goes to easily as text.
Yeah, I call them right away.
Okay, so you have all these super ninja tricks. Is there anything else, other system that you've got in your cleaning company that maybe somebody else could glean some awesome information from? Anything else you're hiding in your back pocket? Anything else?
The what?
Training points.
Oh, yeah, so, so let's talk a little bit about, so COVID was awful, we're still trying to get back from it, staffing's terrible. But it made us rethink our business in some ways, and I think some of those things have really paid off for us. And one is, the way that we deal with training. So in the old days, 2019, we would hire somebody, we'd hire 4 or 5 people, we'd have a training class, they would come to the office, we'd train them all between 8 and noon, send them off for lunch, and 2 of them came back. You know the story, right? That's just the way it works. So once COVID happened, and we still needed employees, we had developed a new system. So now when we hire somebody, we say, okay, you're hired, here's your training. And we have everything in training. It's all done with videos now. And we send them the training. And they have to complete 5 hours of training before their start date. And then if they don't complete it, they don't start. Unless we really need customers and then say, come on in. But, employees. But now for the most part, they don't start. And we pay them for it. We pay them for doing the training. But then they get some skin in the game, But the other piece to that is if they do the training and they go, I'm just really not going to like this. We don't have any wasted time with that employee. They didn't waste a lot of time with us. It's a good time to leave. So training really has changed the way that we hire.
Us too.
And onboarding.
Us too. I'm obsessed with it. Okay, that's a perfect segue to handle it over to Martha to talk about people, because people are the reason why all of it is the way it works, right?
Okay, Martha, let's go.
And it's the easiest part of our job, right? Yeah.
Is that an issue right
Teach me your skills.
So Royce, you mentioned the turnover and kind of that you haven't been able to RV nearly as much as you want to.
Yeah, so here's the deal. So things were going so well. We had all of these systems in place. In January, we said, November, we're selling our house, which we did. We sold our house and we bought an RV. And we said, we're just going to go off and see the world. And in the meantime, we'll run this business from afar, which we did until we couldn't hire people anymore. And we said, oh yeah, these are the people paying for our trip. So we got to go back home. So we've been really working on hiring.
So what learning lessons have you encountered from going, being in the office with people every day, pre-COVID? And then what have you learned of how you're going to have to pivot now that everybody's pretty remote and you don't have the hands-on that you used to have?
Well, we're back to hands-on, unfortunately for us, but there's a couple of lessons in there. So our if you go back and look at our business now, it is a totally different workforce than it was pre-COVID. We had a lot of folks, late 30s, early 40s, a lot of experience, pretty stable workforce. We had people who were with us 7-8 years. And now if you look at our average employee age, it's probably 25. And it's a little bit different. And, one of the things that we were talking about is, we have people who say does anybody have any employees with anxiety issues? Okay, it's rampant, right? And one of the things that I think is different is if you're 25 and you have anxiety issues, it's different than if you're 40 and you have anxiety. Because if you're 40, you figured out how to work around it. But the 25-year-old is still going I can't come to work today because, my car needs gas.
I have allergies. I sneeze.
Yeah. So that has been, so from a pivoting standpoint, we're having to figure out how to and Tim and I actually, because of what we've done in the past, we're very in tune with, you talk this generation this way, this generation this way, you know, so that's not an issue. I mean, we don't have a problem with that. But what we're finding is the needs of our new workforce are really very different from our old workforce. Yeah.
My question is, how do you manage that program with like the new generation, with inspiring you, with all these problems like she mentioned, I using all the time. How do you manage that problem?
It's a trick. I mean, obviously it's a problem. I read a book one time, and if you've never read this book, it takes you like 30 minutes, and I would absolutely recommend it.
Sorry, but because I'm in my early 30s. I don't know how old are you, but it's a difference. You have an age, I'm my own age. So how do you manage that part? How do you understand those people?
Oh, like the different age groups?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot to be said. I mean, there's a lot written about the way that different generations, you know, to manage different generations. And one of the things you have to remember, and this is probably a big lesson that I've gotten over time, is to try that everybody, and you can lump them into generations, but everybody sees the world through their lens. Okay? And if you can't, the lens that I'm looking at the world through is different than a 25-year-old. It's different. We have a daughter who's 30. It's different than hers because of the different things that we had growing up or coming up. So, you know, like a 25-year-old really has taken the brunt of the whole global financial crisis. They saw the stress in their family. They may have experienced, some bad things, homelessness or whatever. So that all affects the lens that they're looking at their current situation through. Okay, does that make sense? So fortunately, this is a broad stroke, I mean paintbrush here, but you can probably go out and find some research and say the millennials, this is the qualities that are important to them. This is the qualities of, whatever generation. So you can learn about that, which I would suggest you do. From a management standpoint, the book I was going to talk about, there was a book called The 1 Minute Manager that was real popular 30 years ago. Then he had a follow-up book called The 1 Minute Manager Meets the Monkey. And for the current generation, I would recommend you read that book. And what the monkey is when they have problems that they try to put off on you. Okay? So we have a lot of issues right now where my car is broken down for some reason. Everybody's car is broken down. At the end of the day, that's not my problem. But it is my problem because it's our job and we gotta have people come to work. So understanding how to manage people so they don't put the monkey on you, that the monkey stays with them, is an issue. Yeah.
Okay, so you and I have a fundamental difference.
This happens a lot.
In the meantime, you're like overslept. It's, they
Overslept, yeah.
and I went to bed late.
Yeah.
My tummy hurts.
The people who work for us today, they can quit and go get a different job.
That's another issue.
Okay? They do not need to work for us. We have raised our minimums 3 times now, right? Okay, we're paying more than we've ever paid. And if they get pissed off at me or you, which is more likely.
That's true.
Because I was really sick last week and you're managing people and I said, do not talk to her like that. Because she will leave. You will piss her off. I know. She's a good player. Yeah.
And I said, okay.
And
What part of it?
no, yeah, he said, well, I'm sick and tired of da. So I have to coddle people. I'll be honest with you, I take care of them more than I ever used to. I try to help them think through their problems. Used to, they called me up and they said, hey, I didn't finish my training, when I start work, I would say, I'm sorry, it's not your kid. See you down the road. They call me up and they say, I didn't finish my training because, I say, well, could you get it done by tomorrow? There is a big difference between the way I manage people today. We had 5 cleaners in August, September, and I have 14 now.
We need 14. Just to let you know, when we had 5, that meant that 2/3 of our jobs were canceled.
And I wasn't playing, I wasn't finishing, I didn't want to do it anymore. And I came in and now we have 14. But we have 14 because those people are super connected to me. And because if they have a problem, I'm very interested in it. You know, I'm very interested in their problems. I'm very interested in how they're solving them. And most of the time they'll say, well, you know, I think I can work it out. So you let me know if you can. I'll see what I can do. And that's, you and I mean, you know, that's
Well,
what
okay,
I
so everybody needs to understand, since we're having a husband and wife conversation.
Don't piss off my cleaners right now, 'cause I can't afford it. Go run them off.
I have a business degree. She has a master's in social work, if you can't tell. So we make a good combination, but separately, it could be different.
Yeah, the difference is-
But you know,
I'm just saying, today's workforce is not a year ago.
right.
I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I'm saying, if you're not interested, I mean, I have people who walk in and I say, I take a drug test and say, here's my prescriptions.
Yeah.
You know, they're gonna hand you bottles of anti-anxieties, antidepressants, and ADHD medicine. So it's different.
The same principles hold true though. You have to be very transparent about what you expect. Maybe you widen what you will allow, but you're still very transparent about what the expectations are. So that's a form of communication right there. And then what Tamara's talking about is that, you know, you have to invest in people. That those conversations are investing in people. And I have some favorite books too, and one of the things that, there's a book called 3 Signs of a Miserable Job that I talk about all the time, but it's so simple and it's so easy on paper. But, you know, you have to make people feel like they're important, and it's all, you know, it sounds nicey, but I mean, it's the truth. It just takes a little more work now.
Yeah, I think now,
Something?
yeah, go ahead.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so, before pandemic, I was in a big group of cleaners. And I would say it's the culture you've created in the company, and need to have someone in the company, in the office, that's more personal to them. It's willing to spend time with them and listen, because they get frustrated on the job. And the other thing is, there is the age difference, but also there is the socio-economic difference. They're dealing with things, you know, in a different world. I work with a lot of immigrants, so it's they're dealing with other things.
Yeah.
So one thing also I learned is the sense of belonging.
Right.
When they have the sense of belonging here, they do everything for
That's
you.
a really good point.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not about only how much you pay, or because in the end everyone pay almost the same.
Well, what they're saying now, I mean, there's a lot out there now about why everybody's changing jobs. And the number one factor that they say is they don't like their manager. Okay, and that's why most, and I know a lot of people going through that right now, and if you were to sit down and talk to them, it may take you a couple of minutes to get to the point, but their manager's not treating them fairly. or-
Tamara back there saying they don't like boys.
No, they don't work for me. There's
She's saying
zero-
They like me a lot.
When you look at our work chart, nobody works for me, none. So-
And you do, I mean, that is a serious point in that, like, you as the owner may work well with people, but if their direct supervisor, the one they deal with every day, is a jerk, then that person will run your good people off. I mean, it's just a fact. It is the way it is.
Your job is to make them feel successful.
Yeah, that's been our big thing is when we really adopted this philosophy that manager's job is to make the cleaner successful. And so when an issue comes up, that's the only thing you have to measure it through is, will this make the clean? Then go do it. You know, they have to be successful.
We learned from Martha, our lead techs only get a bonus if their team gets a bonus.
Yeah.
Like, they don't get a bonus otherwise.
And so, like, I've done things where we have weekly staff meetings, and one of their one of their bonus measures is our staff, basically, are we full staffed or not? And if we're not full staffed, then they don't get that part of the bonus. Well, in that, you can't just leave it at that number. You have to talk about, in that stats meeting, are you doing all the things that are required to keep the people? So we have, we have all, it just goes on to, there's a lot of coddling that goes on to keep good people, but you have to agree to play the game if you want to keep the people.
And there's a lot of overlooking.
Yeah.
Because, I have a person who works for me, and you could not give her negative feedback if your life depended on it, because she has such a poor self-esteem.
Well, you can do it. It just doesn't go well. It can be done.
No, right, no, do not say that.
It can't be done for many days or.
No, you don't get to
She's
do
no
it the second
longer
day,
there.
she don't come to work.
Exactly.
I mean, hypothetically speaking.
Right later, leave her alone.
Michelle was talking about this today. You were talking about 70% good, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean,
Increasing the good.
yeah, we have to find the good, catch people doing the good, compliment the good. And 70% at a start is really good, because it means that you are not personally doing it as the owner. And so you have to just be able to be okay. It's not gonna be perfect, it's not you, but it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
The other part of that is that I meet with our team leaders on a regular basis, and I say, if these people stay, it's because of you, it's not because of me. They're not working with me every day, they're working with you.
Right.
It's true.
Because a lot of times they will say, well, they didn't like this, and I said, no, they didn't like working with you.
Right.
And that's important, because they're the person that they're seeing, or him. They don't, that's the person they're seeing and interacting with every day. They don't see me every day. I can sit in my office, I can see them coming and going, and they're all doing their thing, I try to talk to them, but it's the people they're working with.
Right.
Critical.
Absolutely.
You're absolutely right.
Any other questions before we wrap up?
So one question is small business have challenges how to retain the workforce, but also you have to compete with the big corporations because their benefits better.
Right.
So how do you raise the salary? Or how do you think how to keep them like front desk?
Culture, culture cleaning.
I would start with the people that you have and why they stay. So, way back when I had to try to figure out how to get more of these people, the first place I went was the people that we had. And I went around and, I was like reworking my recruiting ad and so forth. And so I went around and talked to the people that we had and said, do you remember why you came? Like, what in the ad attracted you to come work for me? And why do you stay? And so I found the hooks, what were the hooks that brought you? And then what are the hooks that keep you? And then I kind of developed my culture around that, more of that. And it's hard to compete with the big companies. It is hard when it comes to benefits, but I also believe strongly that as mom and pops, we have a lot more flexibility than these big corporations. So I worked in the corporate world forever, and I was a director in the corporate world, and the biggest reason I left the corporate world is I couldn't lead people the way I wanted to. I had, oh no, you can't do that, or you can't do that. And I thought, this is crazy. I mean, it wasn't like I was trying to do anything illegal. And so I remember when I left, it was very freeing that you have to work within your labor laws, but I can do a lot of incentives and things that are way more creative than these big companies, and I just have to capitalize on that. And so, like in the recruiting ad, I'm gonna say the 10 reasons you should come work for us. And I write out, these cool things. So I think we have a big advantage in a lot of ways. No, we're not gonna, we may not be able to offer this awesome insurance plan or something like that, but I still get people, whether they have, a spouse that has insurance or through the military, or I'm in Oklahoma, so they have the Indian card is what it's really called. So, but anyway, you can compete. You're just gonna have to be more creative.
One of my favorite things about when I first met Martha, which was like 3 or 4 years ago, is she gave a talk about our recruiting ads. And the simple takeaway was talk to your favorite employees and then use their words, like note their words and put them in your ads. And you will naturally attract more of your favorite people. And it has held true. I mean, I'll never forget that night. I had 7 applicants in 7 days, and I took my quarterly reviews, like, why do you come to work? Why do you come to work every day? What motivates you to show up every day? I used those words in my ad, and suddenly I had like 240 applicants in the next 7 days. And it's such a simple thing. And if you're already doing reviews, you have that language somewhere in your records. You just have to use that language and get creative. And it's a brilliant thing.
I learned a lot of stuff from Diana too.
Okay, and Diana.
Give her.
Diana has a Facebook group. If you're hiring right now, it's kind of cool. There's a lot of gold in this Facebook group. What's it called?
Something
Hiring.
very
It's something
creative,
like-
like hiring and onboarding or something.
Hiring and recruiting in your cleaning business.
Yes.
Or something.
Yeah.
Search for Diana Hindley. You'll find it. It's epic.
Anything else? Yes, Eric.
I would like a book that you would recommend, every one of you.
Oh, that's a good question.
Fun.
Hey, this can be our homework.
Homework.
Okay.
Royce is like, can we keep going until my book gets here?
I like a book.
The book is great. Yeah, we can come back to you.
I haven't read it yet, but it's on my list for this week.
But I know it's great.
I'm excited for it, so I guess that's why it's Get Different.
What difference?
Hobby Get Different.
Hobby tag.
Go
With Story Brand or
with what?
Story Brand or what's the other Don Miller? Visual Zen?
Oh yeah, visual style. I don't have to.
I'm just being selfish. So Get Different by Mike McCallum, his
Mike McCallum.
latest book.
That's I brought it with on my agenda. I'm excited about it. It's all about how, so the basis of it is in reference to differentiating your company marketing wise from the others in your area and how to go about that and the process behind it. A lot of us tend to think it's like colors and things of that sort. It's not necessarily all about that. It's really about the why and everything behind who you are as a company and differentiating you from your other competitors. So that's why I'm excited about it. I love Get Different, and author is Mike McCallum.
And I was trying to get her to change her book because my book would definitely be Mike McCallum's book.
You always
I know, but now I like want to give 2 Mike McCallum. We're just gonna make
Profit
Mike.
first?
Yeah, okay, so Profit First, if you're not ready yet, it is the difference between.
Everything by Mike, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
It's a game
Spoiler.
changer.
Okay, so Profit First, it's the difference between wondering where your money goes every month and watching stacks of money pile up in your bank account. It's incredible difference. But Martha recently sent me some tough love in a text message and said, I need to pumpkin plan my life. And if you have followed Fight Club before, you will know that once upon a time, we locked Tay in a closet and made her sign for responsibility. But also, Martha locked me in a car and made me listen to the entire Profit First book, from beginning to end.
Pumpkin plan.
You're right. That's what I meant to say, pumpkin plan. So, yeah, it's rough.
It's kind of the initiation. You just get locked somewhere and you have to do
There's
something.
usually alcohol.
There's normal
Mostly
alcohol.
Not when we were driving.
Oh, yeah, not
She was driving.
Speaking of alcohol.
Seriously, we were drinking. Okay, So profit first, Mike McCallick's pumpkin plan, Mike McCallick's. The reason I bring up pumpkin plan right now and why Martha's telling you pumpkin plan my life is if you're hiring and recruiting right now, you are probably turning away customers. And you probably have a wait list. And it's probably time to really think about who you want to be working for and who your cleaners want to be working for and how much can you charge them. And then you should stack your calendar with that. And you should stack around that. You should not be dealing with the low-hanging fruit. You should not be dealing with the cheap customers. No offense, you should not be doing one-time things if you have a wait list. You should not be doing monthly things if you have a wait list. If bi-weekly is what you love, that's what you should be doing right now. And you should be staffing around that, and you should absolutely be charging enough for it. This is not a book recommendation, Eric, but I'm an accountant. I can't pass the mic without saying, inflation's at 9.6% for the past 12 months. So if you've not raised your prices at least 10%, you are literally paying to work for your customers. So pumpkin plan your list. Martha, thank you for the tough love this week and every week. And walking me in the car. And Mike McCallis, we love you and all of your books. So, okay, your turn.
Okay, I'm gonna stick with my old school recommendation, which is the 1 minute manager, and it's actually, there's several of them, but 1 minute manager and 1 minute manager meets the monkey. And here's why, because I think most of us need to get back to basics in terms of management, because the basic things still matter. And these are really quick reads. They're by an author named Ken Blanchard, who was, just really big. In
Dr. Ken.
I don't know at that level, but okay. Dr. Ken Blanchard. And back in the 90s, he was really the guru that everybody turned to for these types of things. But these are really simple books. They don't take them very long. And the nice thing about that is you can get them out to your staff and they can read them. And you can have sort of your own little internal book club and go through the messages in them. And there's just a handful of messages in each one, so you can get the concepts pretty easily.
Love it.
Who was that by?
Dr. Ken Blanchard.
Ken, like Ken doll.
The book I'm reading with our management team right now is called The Infinite Game. And I find that I think of my business in an infinite way. So it's really hard for me to be surrounded by people that put it all into practice. And they're actually the people that are doing the work every day. They get a little bit discouraged sometimes when things change. And so I think as entrepreneurs, we can see the bigger vision, but a lot of our people around us that are implementing that vision need to see that vision with us. And so we're all reading that one together, and I'm obsessed. And I'm such a quick start, I've forgotten the name of the author, but it's called The Infinite Game. It's a white cover, red letters, and it's awesome. And I'm about halfway through.
Okay, and at the end of this 10-week culture class I teach, I do 2 book recommendations, so I'm gonna have to do 2. And one of them I already mentioned. It used to be called The 3 Signs of a Miserable Job, but nobody really ran out and got that book because of the title. So now it's called The Truth About Employee Engagement. Same book. But there are 3 signs. There's 3 things that they tell you to pay attention to. Your employees want to know that they matter. They want to know that their work matters, and they want to know how they stack up. Those are the 3 things. But it's a really easy read. The other one is actually a marketing book, but I twist it for employees. And it's called Never Lose a Customer Again is the name of the book, and it is,
Black cover, red balloon.
Yeah. Joey Coleman, I think. And anyway, so it talks about 7 or 8 phases of the customer cycle, but I really recommend, it's a great book for leads and clients, but I really recommend when you're going through those phases that you flip it. And now your client leads are your applicants, and then your customers are your employees. And I want you to go through each phase and see where you can do better. And I think it's a great book when you flip it. And one of the things that I did is just sit down with staff, like management staff, and go over each phase and what are we doing now? What are we missing? What do we need to do better? And then you solve all your problems. Thank you. All right, you guys have been great. We really appreciate it. Okay, we don't have a quote, right?
Let's give something away.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff
That's
to
right, right? Okay,
Okay,
well, I think we're gonna shut the live down. So if you're not here live in Las Vegas, we missed you, and we hope to see you next time.
Thanks for.
Thanks for joining.
Bye.